Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to episode 178 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of midlife. Today, we are talking about gliding. Oh, challenges of midlife. Flying in midlife, too. I knew that's what you were laughing at.
The challenges of midlife. Yes.
Is it not one and the same, though? Challenges in midlife and
reading
challenges
is quite
of flying.
a challenge in midlife.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say. So, we're going to be talking about gliding tonight. And with me today, as always, the man, the myth, the legend in Nashville, Tennessee, flying a Cherokee 180. It's my friend Brian. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Glad to be here. Barely made it. I feel kind of like how I did in school, you know, when you're almost out of breath running into the classroom and trying to act normal. That's what I'm doing right now. But made it. Glad to be here. Excited about tonight's episode.
Awesome. Also joining us from the West Coast, it's our friend who is a sport pilot extraordinaire flying a CTLS we like to call the Egg. It's our friend Tedder. Good evening.
Hey, I am very broken this week. I did a metric century bicycle ride yesterday, which is like 62 miles. I realize I haven't done one of those in like 7 years, and I haven't done many metrics or full centuries for like 10 years. I'm older than I was 10 years ago. And things hurt that never did in the past. Walking up and down stairs is a problem. Like,
Do you have padded shorts?
yes. Yeah, that was fine until the last 10 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's kind of, and this is on a regular street bike. I'm assuming it
Yes.
wasn't. Okay.
Yes, a nice fast bike. So yeah, I hadn't realized it'd been that long, and it was.
How was
It
the
was-
terrain? Was it a lot of elevation or?
It was dead flat.
Okay.
Actually, I mean, I had 1,000 feet of change on the whole thing, but we also added a hill, and optional hill in the middle. So yeah,
Still, yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty reasonable. That's well done though.
Yeah.
I have eyes on running longer races, but now that you tell me this and understanding the pain that I'll have to go through, we might retire from long distance running for forever. So, hey, so anybody been flying lately? Anybody got any good recent experiences or bad recent experiences?
Well, I have been training for commercial. So you know what that means. Doing lots of maneuvers. And it has been an interesting, fun thing to be looking outside again. All that to be said, some of these maneuvers kind of blend together for me a little bit. And it's hard for my brain to separate them just at certain phases. If you're doing chandelles and then you do, 5 or 6 of those or something, and then you transfer over to doing lazy eights, it takes a second to not overbank at the beginning of a lazy eight, just little things like that. But all told, it's going all right. And if the plane will just calm down, I'll be okay. I went up there Sunday. Was that yesterday? Yesterday.
That was yesterday.
I went up there yesterday, perfect weather, to do some practice. That's the cool thing about in private, you're not a pilot yet. So really even though you do solo practice, it's more just, holy moly, I'm out here flying,
Right,
I get
right.
I'll do a steep turn and then go back to the airport, in this case, I actually can really dig into practicing the maneuvers. So I go up there yesterday to practice. Perfect weather day, Sunday, light traffic, getting to the airport and back and all that stuff. And I walk in and the first thing I see is a flat tire. Right main was flat. It was fine when I pushed it in. So Sunday, nobody's there. I'm out of luck. So then it was, well, alrighty then. And get back in the car. People probably know this, but it takes me about an hour and 5 minutes to drive to the airport. So when you are rehearsing in your mind all these maneuvers and you're kind of already lathered up to do this thing, and then you just open up the door and realize, oh, I don't even need to pre-flight. I'm done. I'm toast. And then driving back, it was a little deflating. And then,
Hey.
yeah. And then
You were feeling flat? Yeah.
Yeah, and it just really takes the wind out of you, And so I was on a mission then to get this resolved because I don't have a lot of time or budget to be playing around with this stuff. So I found, I was on a mission this morning to go get that tire sorted out. I found the local mechanic did not have a tube, but I found one in Springfield at Mike 91. And so I drove over there, picked that tube up. Boy, are they expensive now. Wow.
How much are they?
Well, when you buy them in an emergency from a shop with a markup, it's a lot. It was, I think, $170 or something, for a Goodyear tube. Anyway, then took that up to the airport. I stopped about 10 minutes shy of the airport. And then I went in, came right back out, got in the car, started it up. And I got what's called the 3 lights of death in the Toyota MR2. The brake light is on, the charge light is on, and the cooling fan light is on. And at first I just thought, this is really confusing. Figured out that it's the 3 lights of death, which means your alternator is toast. So then I'm thinking, how far am I from the airport? Can I just get there? Because otherwise the car is just going to die. And so I took a chance, got to the airport, got the mechanic to sort out the tire while I'm trying to call another mechanic. I actually, long story short, miraculously, I found an alternator that will fit a 1985 Toyota MR2. Thank you, O'Reilly's. And they said they could have it there by 3:00. So they gave me a few hours to find a mobile mechanic. Guy went over there, picked it up for me, brought it out to the airport. I met him at the hangar, and he installed it, and it only gave him minor amounts of trouble. Really great guy, great outcome. The car is fine. And then I drove back as fast as I could, and then now I'm here. So anyway, that's been my flying story, is back to just nonstop maintenance woes on every front. If it's mechanical, it's trying to fail me and slow me down, but I will not let it. So now tomorrow will just be weather, because tomorrow we got storm tonight, and then it'll be bad in the morning. So I'll be doing some groundwork tomorrow morning, but that's okay. So that's my flying stories: maneuvers, and then maintenance.
And then maintenance, the maneuvers.
Yes.
Let's repeat.
Yeah.
So how about you, Ted? What you been up?
I think of Brian for commercial, that it's kind of, don't tempt me for a good time when it comes to powerful 180s. It's like, and I mean the rest of the maneuvers too, but especially powerful 180s it's your jam. So that's going to be the best part of it, I think.
Oh, and by the way, there's a comment in here about preventive maintenance. Yes, that is something that a pilot can do if you have a jack, if you have a few things. So that's why I didn't change the tire myself.
Yeah, I had that bad cycle last year of 3 tube replacements because I destroyed 2 in the process because they're annoying rims to use. And
you had that weird hub problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were at last year's prices from Aircraft Spruce was 105, somewhere between 105 and 110 each. So each mistake I made was a little painful at that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's why I was asking the price, because it's like you're within the same range, especially with that extra markup, I think.
Yeah. And just one little follow-up note, because Ryan's in here saying that MR2 alternator probably will fit my RV10. That's probably true. The alternator that died in the MR2, I was curious about this, and when we pulled it out and we looked, it was original. So 40 years, pretty good run.
As we would say it, that alternator don't owe you nothing.
That's right. I like that. Yeah.
So Ted, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I did a thing with a thing this weekend. We'll talk about it later, but I soloed a glider and had strange experiences on top of just soloing a thing.
So your instructor passed out, or what happened?
Well, he signed me off and left. He literally got in his plane and left. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess you're not very concerned. It's like, well, there's another CFI here on the field, so go enjoy. It's like, yeah.
That does. Well, we'll hear about it more in a minute.
Yeah.
For me, I did Angel Flight on Thursday, and that involved me. I was flying the second leg. The patient and companion were going from Houston to Charlotte. The first leg was from Houston to Mississippi, where we have several listeners. Shout out to Flint and the gang there. I flew there, got there a little early. He said he would meet me. And then the first leg pilot was late. So Flint and I went to the Waffle House, got some breakfast.
That's awesome.
And then I did that. Great flight, very nice couple, very uneventful flight. And then I went night flying. I'm really starting to push the nighttime stuff. It is messing with me though, because, it's sunsets at 8:30. So
yeah,
this, how all that works out. So staying up later than I normally do. Fortunately, I'm able to sleep in a little bit later than I normally do. But so that's going very well. And earlier in the chat, one of our listeners, I believe it was our friend Chuck or Rich, went to 9 Alpha 0, which is the name of the field is Wimpy's Field in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is also my alma mater. Went to North Georgia. And it's my nemesis field because right after I got my PPL certificate, I wanted to go visit my college and I wanted to fly into this airport. And if you look on a chart supplement, the runway's 3,000 feet long. But if you're landing runway, I believe it's 16, runway 16, the displaced threshold is 1,032 feet.
Oh, it's a one way.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I feel like it's stuck in my brain because I would attempt to go land there and the winds would be in the opposite direction. Runway 34 only has a 443 foot displaced threshold. But the wind would never support that. It was always 16. And I just wasn't confident enough in my landings right when I got my certificate. And I was worried, I'm going to overrun it. I'm going to screw the airplane up. Now, I have been there several times since, and it's really not that big of a deal, but it's just that one stop that I tried to make that I just never felt comfortable with. And so I just kind of consider it my nemesis airport. It's a little challenging. So yeah, it was Chuck that went there. His daughter's going to school there. So yeah, it's beautiful. I love the area. Love my alma mater. So yeah, check it out. Know that it is a kind of a one-way in airport. There's a mountain at one end and a bunch of trees at the other end. Other than that, yeah, it's going to be a lot of night flying for me. I'm at 75 hours night and I need to get to 100. So that's what I'm up to.
When you're going night flying, where are you going or what are you doing?
So this time I went back to Birmingham because I love that FBO so much. And I've got a friend from my former employer who's also about to retire. And we tried to meet up this time, but it didn't work. But we're going to probably go over there. And I may go to Nashville next time. I hear Nashville is a pretty cool place to go to.
It's all right. We've had a couple fly-ins here, and you attended both of them, so come on back. But yeah, the night flying, that I'm trying to do a little bit of the same thing. I've noticed that I'm generally looking at flying into Class Charlie airports at night, and I'm not really interested in flying at night into small airports. I mean, that's a skill you need to have. But when you're just if you're flying for the sake of building time, it seems like a good idea to go somewhere that's towered and very well lit, and that you can back it up with an approach really nicely and just kind of get in there. I went to Evansville, I guess that was the week before, did that, just the qualifying night cross country for commercial was the last of the requirements I needed to do. And I like it because, well, it's funny because Evansville is a Class Charlie, but it's so relaxed, and they have free Haagen-Dazs bars there at the FBO. So, I mean, why not go to the place where there's free ice cream?
Birmingham's the same way. They've got their beverage cooler has just about every non-alcoholic beverage you can think of. All the sodas, all the different things. So, yeah. So I plan on doing others. I do want to start kind of branching out, and kind of contrary to what you're saying, for the exact point that you mentioned, I do want to start going to the smaller airports, because with a little luck, that'll be a job for me in the coming months or year. No, it's just something I feel like I need to do to gain that experience level.
Totally. My other question is, what are your special considerations with respect to night flight planning? Again, because you're not on a mission necessarily, you're just sort of choosing places that you're going. I found, at least when I was planning my night cross country for commercial, that I wanted to go, I'm choosing places where there are routes. I wanted to file. So I wanted to fly IFR, even though there was no IMC, but I wanted to fly a filed route, direct or whatever, but was not egregiously away from following a highway and weaving through various airports and outs.
Well, that's for me. It's following interstates.
Yeah.
If I try to go we're in the East Coast. There's interstates everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my primary consideration.
Yeah.
That I'm not going over sparse, desolate areas, which again, there aren't that many of them. And a lot of the IFR routes that are the typical routes we get are along interstates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting because when you're not, it's just a different mentality to flight plan when you're going somewhere just to go somewhere. And I'm sticking to night IMC mountains, pick one.
Oh, I agree with that. And I mean, I don't really consider the hills in between Georgia and Alabama. I mean, they're be that as it may, I'll file almost every time on night IFR. I like to do the approaches, just not that I can log them, but just to have the experience to shoot the approaches. And it also lines me up with the runway, and it makes it a lot easier to find. So that's what I'll probably start hitting some small airports, and I am planning to make a run up to Nashville one of these days. So
that's cool. I showed you my approach into Evansville and how hilarious it was that I got resequenced because it was a 45 knot headwind. So basically any other airplane was coming in faster than the 60 knots or whatever I was doing. And they were
30 miles an hour over the ground.
The guy was so annoyed with me. I forget what he said, but I just set up something along the lines of, well, this is max forward speed. And it was like he didn't believe me that was my max forward speed. And he was pretty rude, but we got through it together. It was fine. But yeah, he pulled me off that approach so fast. But that was a really good experience to do a 360
Absolutely.
and then rejoin the approach was really, really good experience.
Did you reply, "I'm giving it all she's got, Captain"?
Next time. I'll write that down. Okay. I got to write.
Yeah.
Like there's always the things you think of later that coulda, shoulda, woulda said, you know?
Yeah. I had time for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep a book of those so that next time I get that call on an approach, I just throw on the autopilot and say, stand by. I've got to look at something.
Yeah.
And then look it up. But yeah, so do you guys want to get into the feedback, or was that
Let's
what we're doing
do some
next?
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you start us off, and then I'll hit the review after that.
All right. Listener feedback. And thanks everybody for sending. We've been getting some fantastic listener feedback emails. You can send those to midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com or just hit us up on the website. So here we go. Hi. Okay, this is from Craig909. I think of the drum machine, the 99. Okay. He says, hi all, greetings from Southern California. I've really enjoyed your podcast over the past couple of years as you discussed the whole constellation of problems, roadblocks, challenges, costs, and especially joys and blessings that we experience as midlife aviators. But your recent discussions on earning an instrument rating have been particularly relevant to me as I've been working in parallel to do the same. One of my first thoughts after passing my check ride this past week was the support I've received from my wife, friends, and CFII, and also that extra bit of encouragement I got every week from the Midlife Pilot podcast. Great show, everyone. Keep it up. Craig909, Cessna 182 Foxtrot.
Go Team High Wing.
And a little later than midlife at 61, he says someone should defend age 61 as totally midlife. I agree. And
actually, Ted said that.
Yeah,
but
the square brackets are me.
Oh, really? Well, you and Craig have a lot in common.
Yes.
Listen, Ted, if it's on the script, he's going to read it.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this? Like a call to arms?
Yes, it is.
It is a call to arms.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, it particularly struck me, this email, when he was talking about just the support from his wife and friends and the CFII. When I think about my instrument rating, and I'm sure a lot of people have this experience, there's something so unique about how difficult that rating is. And when you've already been, people that are outside of this it doesn't quite register to them that you're working on something that is possibly harder than what the initial thing was. And in their brains, they're just thinking, well, aren't you already a pilot? Why is this so hard? So the people that are closest to you really hear it and they know it. And so I also can very much say the same. My wife, my friends, and my CFII. I mean, I was just thinking about it earlier today about how, in retrospect, it's kind of like when you think about some of your teachers in school, when you were young and you were out of control and unruly, and you just, as an adult, empathize with them in the memory of them. You go, gosh, they were so patient with me and I was awful, you know what I mean? And that's how I feel about my CFII and all these people that you realize, and especially in retrospect, how grateful you are for the people that put up with you, because that stuff is really hard. So I really appreciate.
Trust me, Ted and I can really feel that too. So.
Yeah, I know. So if we are any small part of helping you through your instrument rating, Craig909, then man, we've really done something, because it's a hard thing to do.
And as someone that's approaching is closer to 61 than either of you two, that is nowhere close to being out of the range of midlife.
Yeah.
You're right there in the middle of midlife, and as far as I'm concerned. And as Brian likes to say all the time, we're all in the middle of something. So, and on that note, the review we got is almost like feedback, and it's very similar, but kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. The title of this review, it was 5 stars. The title of it is Midlife ? This is from Travis S. He says, I stumbled upon this podcast a couple of years ago. I'm an avid podcast listener, especially the aviation ones. I saw the title and thought it was perfect. I'm midlife, or thought I was. When you're 18 and you think you're 35 years old and you think 35 is old, I figured this would be great. I'd find a community going through the same problems as me. I quickly realized you guys were a bit further down the road than me, but I kept coming back. I may not be in the same stage of life right now, but it sounds like most of you have been where I'm at and come out great on the other side. I'm currently in the trenches with a 2-year-old toddler and a second one on the way in June. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It feels like I barely get a minute to myself anymore, let alone fly. I got my instrument rating in February of 2025, and I'm already not current. I've owned a 182 for a couple of years and finally found a partner, a midlifer. Go figure. Haven't flown in a couple of months, and like you guys talk about, it's really easy to find excuses not to go, especially with the little one and the wife at home. Anyway, I really enjoy your perspective on flying, the weight of flying with loved ones, and your passion for sharing aviation. Maybe someday I'll make a fly-in if the wife doesn't kill me first.
Man, thanks, Travis. This is a great book, and we get people who are 29 who are like, I'm not sure if I'm midlife or not. It's like, yeah, you kind of are. And I think especially at the point where you've got a kid, you're midlife. You can't claim to be a youth anymore at that point. I do need to do some Chat GPT image work because I'm thinking of a toddler in the trenches now. And so maybe that's just me.
No, and I agree. That's a really tough time. I'm glad that my brother-in-law didn't get this airplane when I had 5, a 3, and a 1-year-old, because it never would have happened. And the fact that there are people out there that can actually make it happen blows me away. I say that, but I think you always make room for the time of things that you really want to do. So I don't know. I resonated with what he said. So again, the general theme for the review and the feedback is we're all midlifers, regardless of what your age is. So
yeah,
we're all in the middle of something. Mr. Siskin, do you want to tackle the housekeeping, or also known as the belly scrub?
Belly scrub real quick. Join our Patreon community and help us keep the Midlife Pilot podcast ad-free. Your support makes this show possible, and every membership level gets you into our incredibly active Discord community. Our Landomatic members at just $1 a month, that's 25 cents per episode, get access to the community level Discord channels where pilots connect, share experiences, and support each other. At the Hershey Bar level and above, you'll unlock the full patron channels with expanded access to discussions on instrument training, plane ownership, flight debriefs, safety, career changes, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes content, extended interviews, and deeper conversations we can't share anywhere else, which, by the way, we have new bonus content up if you guys haven't checked it out on Patreon. It is the first of our series of Person Behind the Pilot, inspired by some feedback we got, and we got to figure out who the hell Ted actually is. It was really interesting. Ted, it's good to finally know you.
I'm known.
No, but it's a really cool idea, and I'm glad we started it off with you, Ted. It was fun. At the Caps Available level, you'll get into our Podcast Insiders channel where you can see how the show gets made. Plus 10% of every dollar goes directly to Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. For everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, to support us on Patreon, to send feedback, grab some merchandise, check out event information, read our blog, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We've been getting some at a higher frequency rate lately, and it's been really awesome to see. So yeah, we'll read it on the air. And just hit subscribe or follow in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. It really helps other midlife pilots find us. So that's about it.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Ted, you want to grab the accomplishments that people have posted on our Discord server? Or
yeah, I would love to. Once I figure out how to turn off that banner. There we go. Sorry, audio audience, as I'm like clicking buttons, trying to figure this out. We have some great accomplishments this week. EJW passed their instrument written and is planning on doing their check ride next month, which is like, 4 days from now? And I like the quote, "Special thanks to Brian for being so honest with his emotions through his IFR training journey. It really helps that there are others riding a similar roller coaster." That is awesome. Flight Fix passed their flight test in Australia. It's basically the private check ride. They started as a sport pilot, the equivalent of a sport pilot over there many years ago. And they had 5 cancellations before their effectively private check ride. So That's one of us. Yeah. Adam V, our friend Adam, shared some audio of getting complimented on the radio by a controller who said, "Nice comms, sir. That was nice."
That's so good.
it was hard to transcribe it because the tone of it was so much different than that. But it was very, very pleasant done, and it was a great read back.
The best part of it was the pause, because then Adam didn't know what to say.
Right.
It threw him off so much that there's just when the ATC said, "Nice comm, sir, that was nice." There's just this pause of about this long.
Yeah.
And then he says the tail number. That's it. That's it.
Roger?
Yeah. I'd like to thank. John did his first owner oil change and had a hours milestone. That's great as well. I know, first oil owner change.
I thought you were say oil stone.
I am stumbling over those words tonight. Zach M flew their longest cross country, but he lives in Texas, and so I noticed that he flew to Oklahoma. Like, you have to fly one state to go on a massive cross country. You could probably do your commercial cross country. Well, I'm sure you could do your commercial cross country inside Texas.
Yeah.
So I know you can do it inside California easily. Yeah, and remind me, Gabriel had a milestone.
That's right. Gabriel passed his instrument check ride.
Oh, his instrument.
For those of you who don't know, Gabriel is One Dull Geek's son, who is now pursuing his ratings, and I think he wants to fly professionally. So congrats to Gabriel.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, it's when people have kids that are doing these amazing things, it's kind of just incredible to me, just how many instrument pilots can One Dull Geek have in his house? This
is heaven for him, because now he actually has somebody to talk to through all these very significant questions that pop into his brain, and he's got somebody who is equally up to the task of helping him get him answered.
Well, Gabriel's been working so hard, so big shout out to Gabriel. That's an incredible amount of work he's doing, and the path that he's choosing and the way that he's going after it has been really remarkable. It's just awesome.
Awesome. Yep. So tonight we wanted to, let's hit this comment from One Dull Geek. He's already a better pilot than me. Spoken like a true dad.
Oh, yeah.
So don't sell yourself short, Geek. You're a tremendous pilot. You're a tremendous slouch.
Slouch, yes.
Caddyshack, yes.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about Ted and his intro to flying gliders and going beyond that. And so, we have in our merch store all these fantastic t-shirts, and we got one that says it's always fuel. So I guess this one, there you go. He's modeling it for us right now. If you're watching the live stream, which you can watch on Monday nights, usually at 8:00. But this one is especially true. As we say, we're not experts. We are not your CFI or anybody's CFI for that matter. So who better to explain what flying gliders is like than someone who is new to them? So Ted, tell us exactly what happened this past weekend. We did chat over the weekend, and you said I had a very crazy experience.
Yeah. You know this. Lord Ethel Juliet knows this. A few people do, but we'll get into that in a minute. The glider world, I did a demo flight 2 weeks ago. Then last weekend, I spent both days at the glider port. They have a private airport for it, and progressed really quickly. I was surprised because based on my pilot experience, I thought it was going to take longer to figure out. I felt really dumb learning to fly. I always say those hours like 5 to 20 were just, I'm never going to get this. I may as well just give it up because I can't figure out the correct way to move the stick to not crash the plane. My instincts are wrong on this. So going into gliders, I thought, well, I'm going to give myself some slack here.
Oh, I know what you did. You put a fake throttle lever in it. You put like a placebo throttle in it? No, you did.
Hey, take it a step further. There's a prop in there too, a prop lever.
There is nothing to do with one hand that whole time because you're used to grabbing a throttle or something else, and it's like there is a wheel retract lever, and that's about all you can do. And I'm like, what am I going to do here? So let's not think about that too long. There's a great joke in there. So last weekend was about 10 flights, 10, 11, somewhere in that range. And it became pretty clear that I'd be able to solo the following weekend, and which is great. I think you have to have 10 before you can solo as a pilot who is transferring basically an add-on rating versus a learning from scratch rating. Everything's measured in the number of flights or the number of tows, or I guess really the number of landings, unlike aviation, it's measured in hours. So it came together really quickly. I thought, okay, great. I went on Saturday morning and I was like, okay, this may happen, and I'm okay if it doesn't. I'm okay after my pride wounded. Never plan on this. And please, if you're in training right now, if you haven't soloed, if you are waiting for your check ride, do the same thing. Just give yourself that grace. Give yourself that this may happen. It may not. I may pass my check ride. I may not. It's okay.
Yeah. You're like Kramer, where it's just like, you can't fire me. I don't even work here.
That's because the answer just to be point of clarification.
Yeah. Wow, you out Seinfelded Brian here.
I don't think so, actually, but we'll
go back to the judges. Yeah.
Yeah, the one with the briefcase, and he's got the...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
You're right. I'm wrong. I stand corrected.
Back to the podcast.
It was definitely back to the podcast.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well done.
I love that. So didn't get in too many flights. I think we got in either 2 or 3 tows, and the conditions were really still. Last weekend, they were really still as well. It was there's a temperature inversion. So as long as you're below that like 3,000 foot where the inversion is, it's just, everything's just dead. It's just great for flying, not so great for gliders if you want to have some lift. But that's okay, because in training, you don't need lift. All you need to do is learn how to land and not kill yourself. And learning how to get lift is not something that is an issue in that. So this weekend I was there, and I've been going there when the field opens, and I got a couple of flights in, or a couple of tows in. And there's a lot of time that you spend practicing the emergency maneuvers, of course. The emergency maneuvers in a glider are different than in an airplane. One of the big ones is, what happens if the rope breaks at this altitude? What happens if it breaks at this altitude? At 200 feet off the ground, where are you going? At 400 feet off the ground, where are you going? And we have a field that generally is one way in, one way out. The other way, it has a displaced threshold that's half the length of the runway. And so I actually landed on that just to have the experience of it. But most people don't. There's tall trees and power lines. So it's much easier just to turn around and use the other direction. So the experience that I had, they always try to surprise you with what it's going to be. And I knew that he was going to give me something under 1,000 feet. And so we're at about 300 feet, and the tow plane rocks its wings. If you've done gliders, you may know what that means. What that means is the tow plane is in trouble. And so you need to release immediately. And you don't want to go down with the tow plane, basically. So at first I saw it, and I had to remember what that maneuver meant. And oh yeah, I get it. About half a second, but it felt like about 20 seconds of processing time. And so I pulled it and went back to the field. And you learn how little elevation you lose making a steep turn. And you also have to get used to making a steep turn just off the end of the runway. Doing a 270-degree turn at 45 degrees at 300 feet off the runway is a normal maneuver. It's just not something I'm used to. And then it's all about speed management, getting back down to the runway.
When you initially disconnect and you have to make that turn, are you turning into the wind? Or
wind hasn't been much of a factor. Okay. And generally, because you've got spoilers / speed brakes, you can kind of just not worry about that as long as the winds aren't substantial. So I think it was before the podcast started. What was it on? We were talking about us being in an echo extension. We're really close to a delta. So to avoid going into the delta, we make an immediate turn off of takeoff with the tow plane. So you're taking off and immediately turning left at 100 feet. So you're already in that left turn, which means when you break off, you're in a perfect spot to make that turn back to the airport. So
To the right?
You're 90 degrees left when you take off. And then, you make a right 270 back to the airport and you are lined up perfectly at the runway at that point.
I guess I was just wondering too about now that you're flying something that is centered, if you find yourself preferring turns to the left when maybe you shouldn't because you're used to flying in a left seat orientation.
Yeah. I definitely have that in steep turns where they aren't symmetrical in my brain, and much more likely, I'm much more comfortable in a right turn than a left turn for some reason. Lord Alpha Juliet says, you're turning into the wind if you have a decent tow pilot. Well, yeah, but that's not true in this case. Pete says, if the tow plane's in trouble and you disconnect, who gets runway priority? I don't know. I actually know what happens if you can't disconnect.
You just duke it out
through that. Exactly.
You race.
We also, this field is wide enough that we have 27 left and 27 right. So they land the tow plane on the north side and we use the south side to land on. So you don't have that conflict between the powered and not, which is, we're lucky in that way. Plus we're lucky of having our own field. Yeah.
What's the glide ratio of this glider?
It is 34 to 1, 28 to 1. I think it's 28 to 1. Yeah.
So if it's dueling emergency landings and you've got a 34 to 1 and then the Pawnee or whatever it is has like a 6 to 1, or I don't know what it is,
I think AJ was getting at that as well, which is they're going to hit the ground first. If they're edging out as well, that's a very good point. We can circle the field a couple times at 300 feet before we get down.
Like how rude it would be to just get on fire.
Glider has priority. Read your 91-113 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and then here comes a blimp. No.
Yeah. Rich reminds us, aircraft in distress always has priority. It's a little tough to say who's in distress at 100 feet between a glider and a engineless tow plane, because both of you are going down at the only rate you have. So
I think it defaults then to what's more expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
What's more likely going to catch on fire?
It's like when you cross on a crosswalk and you're doing the math on who's this going to hurt worse, that big truck or me. That's really where priority goes. The rules are the rules of physics at that point. So yeah.
Right. And then Rich goes on to say, the airplane fire will be out. The NTSB will have hauled off the airplane before the glider comes back.
So true.
And then somebody else made the comment earlier that the glider gets slightly better fuel economy than the egg, which I love. So
only slightly.
Here's the thing, though.
Yes.
At the point in time, what would make me nervous, how you describe that, making 45-degree turns lower to the ground. I would be nervous then getting back into my 182 after making a bunch of 45-degree turns and not worry about as much about altitude. There's some habits that you're going to have to keep in mind, I guess, when you're transitioning between the two airplanes, I guess.
For sure. And your brother-in-law had that problem with landing the 182 after landing the big stuff.
That's right. That's his flaring at 200 feet was not the best practice. You're right.
He had the second worst landings in that plane.
That's exactly right. And, he's got a lot more hours, so he's learned how to figure all this.
What's your
he's earned it.
35 knots or something, Ben?
It is 56 miles an hour.
How many knots is that? Like 11?
That's probably around
48.
48.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. All right. Yeah. And so Ted, break down the specs of this glider. You mentioned the wingspan. What kind of numbers we talking about? I
was not prepared for that, but it's a LET, nice like Polish company, L23 Superblonic. It's also what Lord Alpha Juliet trained in back in the day. Back when Lord Alpha Juliet was just Alpha Juliet. It's hard to get an idea what the glide ratio math is. And so this number will come up later, but I realized at 9,500 feet, you can glide 45 nautical miles. 45 miles. So,
wow. So it's just an infinity symbol on ForeFlight.
Right. And it's a trainer glider.
Yeah, you can't zoom out far enough for your glide range.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ted.
It's like, I can get to Alaska from here. Yeah. So my instructor signed me off. I'm using a paper logbook because even though I do everything in ForeFlight, because in the glider stuff, you log extra fields and it has all the extra endorsements in it. And then I just roll up each day's logs back into ForeFlight and say, 4 landings, 3 from 3,500 feet, 3 from 1,000 feet, whatever it is.
Must be frustrating though, because every time you're ready to log, you just go, well, somebody stole the pin attached to the string every time.
Yeah. Ugly Cub asks where I'm training. And yes, I'm training at North Plains, which is just outside of Hillsborough Airport, HIO. So we go and we sit down, we debrief, and he signs me off to solo, and we talk through some procedures and a couple of warnings and that kind of stuff. And then he goes and hops in his 150 and leaves. His Cessna 150 leaves the airport. It's like, all right. Well, actually, all I need to do a solo is that there is a CFI kind of on call at the field, because gliders, there's so many people around. It just takes so much work to run an operation. So they have
it's a
CFI.
Supervised solo by nature.
Yeah. You can't launch it yourself anyway, right? So
Right.
So I found that there was a glider that hadn't been used maybe even that season. I think it had been used once that season and reserved it. And within an hour, I was ready to go fly it. And I was in line. You're in line with all the other gliders that are waiting for the tow plane to take off. And I'd done a thorough pre-flight. I had not sat in the plane. I'd made sure that it had the ballast that I needed. The wings are behind the tandem seating positions. So they're very sensitive to that forward weight. And so if you don't have enough ballast, you can't stall it, right? It's just going to stay nose up the whole time. So I need a little bit of ballast to make that work. And so I checked it for that. So I go to hop in it, and the tow plane is just about ready for me. I'm like, oh, I haven't even tried shutting the canopy. It's hitting my head because there's extra padding on this. So I pull out one thing of padding and open the canopy and throw it out. And then I try sitting down again, and it's like, nope. So I open it and I throw out the other piece of padding and throw it out. At that point, I'm basically just sitting on a tiny piece of foam that's on top of the ballast, which is just a metal brick of ballast. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. A tow to 3,500 feet. I'm going to be in the air for we always log it as 0.4 hours, like 25 minutes to do that, to play around and glide back down. I can live with that. That's fine. So take off, have a little more trouble. The really hard thing for us that come from powered airplanes, once you are just like gliding, it's not terribly different. What's really weird is being towed up and learning how to position the plane, and because you're connected. So if they turn, how do you turn? How do you stay in the correct position? You don't want to go to the inside like a water skier because your rope will go slack. How do you put yourself? How do you bank your wings? So that's really what you're spending most of your time pre-solo on as a transfer. Almost a transfer student. Yes.
If you end up in a situation where the tow plane does, for whatever reason, maybe it's something evasive, or moving out of the way of birds, or I don't know, whatever, and they do take a turn that you're not anticipating so much, and you end up on the inside of their turn, and you do get a little bit of slack, what is the protocol for dealing with that?
So you train on slack recovery, which is basically slip the plane.
That's the title of your memoir.
Yeah. Although at first it's hard for me to learn that, because when your instructor puts it into a slack position, you climb up and then you dive, and so I was used to it diving, and it's like I wasn't correcting the dive, and it's like unusual attitude. The first thing you do is correct that and then deal with the rope. So yeah, you basically slip it. But the thing is, if it goes too far, you just need to disconnect. That's always your kind of default option, is just disconnect, right? It's like approaching an uncontrolled airport. You always just leave the pattern if anything's sketchy. You just get out of there.
I don't think I ever realized how Gen X gliding is.
It fits my my feral cat personality, though, in that way of just running away.
Explain that further, Brian. What do you mean?
It's just like this. It's like Gen X Zen. It's when things are too slack, you just need to disconnect. It's just you just don't try to get it back, man. Just disconnect.
Yeah, you don't want the rope to get tangled around your wheel or like wing or anything like that. So that's why it's kind of learning those habits. So he takes me up, and I was told, hey, go to the Y and then go north, and you're going to find some good stuff up there. I'm like, great. So I was going up that way and starting to feel lift in the plane, and it just kind of like takes you up. And so I spent a lot of time really struggling staying on the toe, just because I was getting lift that the tow plane wasn't. And so I was really struggling with that slack. And hopefully the tow pilot doesn't know who I am, because I definitely wasn't their best tow of the day. But yeah, so get to 3,500. He lets me off. I'm like, cool. I'm just going to play around here. Everything gets chill once you release. It's a little loud and it's a little busy. As soon as you release from the tow plane, you're usually between 50 and 60 knots. You're just kind of chilling out, and it's really gentle. If you take one up to like 80 or 100, it's really, really noisy. So you don't even really need the altimeter. You can just tell by how angry the air sounds outside what you need to do. But yeah, I went off, and then what you're doing is, the thing you're doing different from a private or a powered plane is you're looking for the spots of lift, and basically any color change, right? You're looking for parking lots, kind of civilized areas. We have greenhouses out there. It's this super rural area, so you can land anywhere. If you're in an emergency, it's great for training in both powered and gliders. Choose where you're going to land. Anywhere below me is fine, it's all the same. But you're looking for those color changes, or I was over some hills, and so if you had a clear cut, there might be some lift there. And the whole point, we learn a little bit about this in powered plane flying, but with those kind of color changes, you're going to have more heat that gets released, that's going upward, which means that the land around it has sinking air, because you've got to have something to supply this towering air. So you're looking for that. You can also, if there's clouds, you can look for kind of the darkest spot of the cumulus cloud, which is kind of the thickest spot of it, and you might find some good lift there. So I'm not good at it. Those are just a couple of things that I know. And so I started kind of searching those out, and it's all of a sudden like, I'm getting some lift. This is kind of cool. And it's unusual for one of us to see 500 feet per minute in a plane that doesn't have an engine. You're like,
yeah,
I can't, and I hadn't seen it in my training flights. And it just kind of boggled the mind. So I started seeking these out. And what you do when you find one of them, because they're just these little towers or columns that you're in, is you turn. You're just banking 45 degrees the whole time. And you're just trying to stay in the little column. So most of your time you're just spending turning if you're near anything like that.
And that's just is that just because the area of the upward air is so, the tower of that upward air is narrow enough that you've got to turn to stay in it? Because otherwise my brain is thinking, vertical lift being lost by virtue of, so that's the ratio that's playing out is you might be banking and losing lift in one way, but you're making it up by being in surging air that commands that.
When your wings are like 30-to-1 glide ratio, you don't lose in a 45-degree turn. Like you lose so little. I did a bunch of those when you're just waiting for to land and you're a couple hundred feet high. And you're like, let me do a 360. Oh, let me do another one. Let me do another one. Let me do another one.
This thing won't go down.
Exactly.
I wanted to hit Geek's comment real quick. It was unusual to see 500 feet per minute climb in the Cherokee 140 as well.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I did that and I started, it's not that I'm good, but I started figuring out the hang of it. And it was a stunning day for it. Everybody was on the radio pretty excited because the conditions were perfect for it. And I started getting 1,000 feet per minute climbs. And the instrument that you use in a glider is called a variometer, which it's basically the same as your vertical speed indicator, but it tries to subtract out anything that you are doing and just capture what the air outside of the plane is doing. And it beeps faster or slower depending on what's going on. So you're basically using those beeps to know if you're doing the right thing. It's noisy in the glider, but I pulled a clip that has the beeps in it so you can get an idea of how it sounds when they're slow and fast.
That's cool.
So
I think I have that Kraftwerk album.
Exactly.
I remember doing that in Microsoft Simulator too. Some of the challenges I have are to try to find the column of rising air, and you would use the same exact tone.
So, turn sharp when the beeping slows down, flatten your turn when there's more beeping. You're just trying to find that middle of the column and hope that it's still there. And it was really easy to lose it. Lord F. Juliet says, was the superblonic in feet per minute or meters per second? It was the variometer is in knots, and it also has a VSI in feet per minute, which is easier for us to understand. But if it says 10 knots, that's the same as 1,000 feet per minute. So thankfully the conversion is pretty easy. Those beeps went up to about 6, which is about halfway up on the scale. So it was hard to hold a phone and capture it all at the same time in one of those. So yeah, before I knew it, I let off at 3,500 feet AGL, which is 3,700 MSL, and I got up to 9,500.
That's crazy.
And technically, legally, I can't go above 10,000 as a sport pilot. So I'm not a student glider pilot. I'm a sport pilot who's transferring, and it's a different endorsement.
Sometimes there are student pilot solos that you see that have gone awry in some way. That might be that the airport had to close for another incident, and then now they're kind of stuck, or
they lose their
problem, or whatever. So what would happen if you were doing this first solo in the glider, and you just, here you are in Portland or near Portland, and then, you had to set it down in Missoula, safety first.
The weird thing is I could see 2 other gliders very near me on part of it. And I kept looking down and I was like, there is an airplane looking thing on the field down there, a freshly plowed field. So it's just dirt and something white on top of it. I'm several thousand feet up and you're just like, am I seeing that? Or is there like a vinyl banner and something else crossing it? I knew that somebody had landed a glider out. Landing out is emergency landing, just off field. Turns out I was looking down and seeing the glider that had landed out during my flight.
Wow.
And I just happened to be looking at it and confused on what I was looking at. I thought that they were like 20 miles northeast of where I was. So that's where I didn't expect them there.
Situational awareness.
Yeah. So I'm staying in a very vertical cone. You can think about a V, and it's like, I said at 9,500 feet, a 45-mile range. I stayed within 10 miles of the airport because I don't want on my first solo to not make it back to the airport. It's not a good look. Yeah, so I did venture north and south. I was north along the edge of the Charlie and realized that I was making the airliners make premature turns when they were leaving PDX. Sierra Tango, I'm sorry. I know you weren't working that day, but I did actually go back and look at it. And It wasn't much. It's just a shorter turn to stay inside the Charlie from it. But I'm
Did
like,
you have a
oh yeah, that's
transponder?
right. No.
Did you get intercepted?
Yeah. Intercepted, no. Hardwired radio. AJ was asking if it was handheld or hardwired. It was hardwired. You have a battery in these, right? And it's just going to drain. There's no choice. It's just, you hope it's charged before you leave.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you plug it back into a big solar panel and they'll charge over the week off solar. So they last a long time, but they're not powering ADS-B or anything either. So yeah, 9,500 feet, got back down to about 3 or 4. I got all the way up and back down, I think 3 times through that. And, as this is happening, it's like, okay, I reserved this glider for 2 hours. I launched maybe 45 minutes into it. It took a long time to get up. Pretty sure there's nobody on the schedule, but I don't, thankfully, I had asked my CFI when we were sitting there with the solar endorsement, what happens if you're up and you're at the end of your quote unquote rental period on the glider? He's like, oh, they do everything they can to keep you in the air. It's like, okay, great. Well, it turns out I needed that hours later. Had no idea that was going to be a factor right then. So I radioed back to the field and I said, hey, I'm in, 123 Sierra Bravo. Is anybody else reserving this? Like, no. Okay, good. So I launched at 1:20 p.m. and I landed at 5:50. So I was in the air for 4.5 hours.
Whoa.
And again, no elevation is no climb is going to be about 0.4 of an hour. So it was like 4.1 gained. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Toward the end, I kind of gave up. It was like, I've been way north. I'm going to go way south and try to get over this reservoir just so that I've made it that far. And I turned and went back north and there was no lift and I wasn't looking for any. So it's like, I kind of like sandbagged myself. But yeah, so as this is going on, the back of the seat is like pushing into my back and I'm on this metal basically. And so it's like my butt hurt within like a tenth of an hour. Like the whole time it's uncomfortable. And I didn't realize that it had been set up for like a 12-year-old, literally 12-year-old who had been in it, 90 pounds, whatever. And so, yeah, that was mistake was made on that. I will make sure that it's actually set up for an adult next time I launch solo. Yeah.
So Luke from Luke's Landing, he said, Ted, just let me put it up here on the screen. Ted just comes down when it's time for annual. Just comes down whenever. That's awesome.
Yeah. AJ prompted me. I texted him and said, landed at 4.5, mostly because my butt was sore. So, and the other thing is, you're at 9,500 feet. It's cold.
Yeah.
So, it was an adventure. It was, there's a ladder system of accomplishments for gliders in SSA, and it's not mandatory, but it's a good way to go from one club to the other and say I'm bronze level, whatever.
Yeah.
I made it through the C, B, and I have like 2 easy requirements for A, and I have one of the major flights for bronze. And everybody was like, "Oh, you should have stayed up for another half hour because you would have qualified for silver." Except for I wouldn't have, because that's a high enough accomplishment, the 5-hour flight, that you have to have like certified recording equipment in the glider so that they know you didn't fake it.
Oh,
which
wow.
Of course,
Right.
I didn't have anything.
Did you just tell me you're an Eagle Scout?
Yeah. I am actually. Yeah.
And
See?
so am I.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Very, very cool, man. I
That's
can
so
see
great.
it. I can see it now, like a year from now, Brian, when you see these news articles, a glider gets towed up to 3,000 feet in Colorado and lands in Maine
Yeah.
and is cruising at 23,000 feet. That's going to be Ted.
Yeah.
Apparently, it used to be pretty easy to get a reservation into the Class Alpha space, and they don't just give that away anymore. So
Right.
you have to be pretty, for an event for you to be able to get above 18,000.
Well, shout out to our friend Evan, CFI Evan, father of
Yeah.
CFI Sam.
Yeah.
was hanging out with Evan the other day, and he's got his glider CFI.
Yep.
And it was funny because he was talking about how the check ride is a little stressful because you're gliding. So this is happening. It actually happens really fast. It wasn't this 4.5 hours in the air thing you're doing, but just all the things that they have to do.
Yes.
They have to do quickly.
Yes.
And it just kind of happens. It's such a neat diversion. So now, do you feel like you've developed a unique, insight or passion on this to want to take it further, or is it something where it's vacationing, an aviation vacation that you're just going to return from?
It's a fun distraction. I'm going to stay with it for a little bit.
Yeah,
because it is.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. I did learn though that as a sport pilot, usually they do private pilot glider. For me, that would not be an add-on. So that'd be my first private pilot, which means taking a written test and going through a full DPE. Now, it's actually a full DPE for you as well if you went and did it, but it's an add-on test. So it's going to be a little bit easier. And it's like, they've never done it, but I'm going to try to get them to do a sport pilot add-on, which is basically you do the check ride, but you do it with a different CFI. So it doesn't cost what the DPE costs. And the only limitation is 10,000 feet, right? You can't have more than one passenger. Okay, I can handle that. Yeah.
Well, at some point, you have to be thinking about oxygen, right? I mean, you should.
I had that thought. Yeah.
I mean, so people talk about the numbers of, 12,500 and 30 minutes and 14,000 and all these things. That's part that in the Part 91 world. That's what we're trained to think about oxygen in that way.
Yeah.
If you're in the military, if you're in any other realm, then, all of us cowboys out here with our bug smashers, they all have hard limits at 10,000 for oxygen.
Yeah.
So that's for a reason.
It's anchoring of numbers. If we didn't know about the 12,000, we wouldn't think about it in that way.
Yeah. If airliner has sudden depressurization, what altitude did they go to immediately? 10,000.
12,499. Yeah.
No, 10,000. We get a question from the chat. What did the 4.5 hours cost?
So I did the math on it, and at the 0.4 hour tows to 3,500 feet, it costs the same amount as renting a plane does. It's about $80 for that tow to 3,500. And so if you're doing 2 an hour, right, that's $160. But you also have to add in the glider at $30 an hour, I believe is what they are. But in this case, one tow for $80, 4 hours at 30. Oh boy, public math. 120. So now we're $200 and add another $15 for half an hour of the glider. So you're at $215 for 4.5 hours of flying. It's pretty good.
So
it's almost as good as the egg.
Yeah, about as good as the egg. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, that sounds really awesome. The chat's going wild. You've got a lot of folks here saying that they're now very, very interested in starting to pick up gliders. Do have one more question that threw up there. Is a medical needed for private pilot glider?
Medical is not needed for private pilot glider, even for commercial glider. Commercial glider is actually useful because most of these places have tourists that want to come and then get a glider flight. So you can easily become a commercial glider pilot and make money immediately on it at one of these glider places. So, and you don't need a medical. So interesting. And you definitely see, I had that conversation with a guy on the Lion. He was saying, yeah, I think there's some old guys like me that fly that probably shouldn't be. Yeah, it's one of those like, if you don't have a medical sort of things. So yeah, no medical is required in the glider world.
What about if you're inverted?
There's aerobatic gliders.
Yeah.
This is an aerobatic glider. It's actually, you can't do it in the US, but everywhere else you can go IMC with it. As long as you add a turn coordinator, it doesn't have any other.
That's so crazy.
Like so minimal crazy equipment, but yes.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No. So
Too cool.
anyhow,
Well, let's wrap this one up. Thanks, Ted.
yeah.
I'm still kind of blown away by it. But
Yeah.
we want to remind everybody to don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Keep them rolling. You can send us feedback, midlifepilotpodcast at gmail.com. And what else, gentlemen? Anything else for the good of the order?
No, thanks, Ted.
I think next week we're going to have a double header for those that watch the live streams. So, yeah.
Boom.
Got to put one in. So I pulled something from the wit and wisdoms from the AV Web, truisms, and I felt this was appropriate for tonight. No matter how modest, an airplane that lifts you into the sky is a real airplane. It doesn't get any more real than that. There are only differences in degree. Signing off, episode 178 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.